my name's Olesya Williams, and I've been going to Creekside since I came to Gainesville for grad school in 2012. And I just wanted to share a little bit of my story. I studied history in grad school, so I'll start with a little historical anecdote, if you will. In the Soviet Union in the 1920s, Lenin died unexpectedly, and there was a little bit of a power vacuum for a few years. So that means there was a window of opportunity with some extra religious freedom there. And during that time, some missionaries from the West filtered and trickled into Russia and started sharing the gospel. And at that time, a young teenage boy by the name of Vasily, in his small Russian village in southwestern Russia, was walking down the street and heard some music coming from his neighbor's house. He was welcomed and heard the gospel for the first time. He came from an atheist, communist family, and he responded and trusted the Lord and gave his life to God. And that really became the most defining part of his life. He later went on to fight in World War II, and coming back from that, he became the pastor of that church. And in the 1960s, because he was the pastor of an underground church, the authorities arrested him, and he was imprisoned for 3 years. He had a wife and 10 children. The youngest son's name was Vladimir, and he was 4 when his dad returned from prison. And all his life, he saw his father model what it meant to care for the community and to live truth. Decades later, after the Soviet Union collapsed, Vladimir and his family, given the opportunity, moved to America for the hope of a better life, and with his wife and 6 kids. And I'm one of those children. So I've always felt incredibly honored and humbled that I am part of that family. But during my sophomore year of college, I went through a deep season of doubt where I became agnostic for a while. I was taking my first class on the Holocaust, and I started asking a lot of questions about the problem of evil. And I just couldn't wrap my mind around how an all-good, all-knowing, all-powerful God could allow genocide and so much evil to happen. And I found myself thinking that I don't want to be a Christian just because that's what my family believed. So I chose that I didn't want to trust God or follow him because it just didn't make sense. But God in his faithfulness just kept pursuing me. Slowly, God revealed to me the depth of brokenness in each of our lives and how only he, through his son, has promised to make it all undone and make it all new. And over time, I also came to understand that our faith is personal, but it's certainly not private or individual. If anything, it's communal. And I know that sounds kind of strange, especially in our Western individualistic culture, but I mean, that's what my family, my father in his faithfulness and my grandfather in his ministry to God showed to me and modeled for me. A few years ago, my husband Alan and I had the chance to move back to Russia and serve in Moscow with college students there. And what a blessing that was, because it was just a full circle of God using my language abilities and the inside knowledge I had of the culture to serve people there. So I'm eternally grateful for that time. But one of the things that I didn't realize, and what astounded me when I was there, is the deep spiritual bleakness. And somehow, undeservingly so, I grew up hearing the gospel since the day I was born. Alan and I had the chance to travel down to my hometown a couple of times, and the impact that church that's still present there, that my uncle is the pastor of now, is still having there is very evident. And just to see the vibrancy of the church and that community, that the same church that was underground for decades, that my grandfather was in prison for, still loving people and sharing the same truth, is really, really astounding to me. For a while, I thought my grandfather's legacy was my family, our biological family. But then I came to realize that his true legacy was bringing us into the family of God, along with the countless of other people that he shared the gospel with. So Yeah, as I think about it right now during this time, Easter has always been my favorite holiday because it's the holiday that sets Christianity aside from every other major religion in the world. If we believe what we say we believe in the death and resurrection of Jesus, it brings us into a family that should have a transformational work in not just our personal lives, but in our community. And it's gonna have a generational impact. I am a huge beneficiary of that. I'm here because of my grandfather's faith. And I think thousands of others could say that as well.